Okay, awesome. Okay, so who are you?
My name is Dr. Robert Arts. I'm a professor of education and physics. I've been at the university for 24 years.
24 years is a long time to be in one place.
Yes.
So I celebrate your stability. But this dual role, right? And in your professorship, when you were a kid, did you think that was going to be your life?
No, not at all. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a research scientist. My father was an industrial chemist. My mother had been in nursing school, and so I grew up naturally around the sciences, and so I felt that's where I wanted to go. And so when I went to college, I went to college as a chemistry major, with the goal in mind of going into a laboratory.
And as you did this, and you went into be a researcher, and now here you are as cool teachers teaching physics. Obviously, when you teach physics, you got big ideas, lots of big ideas. And for you, is there a dream job out there? Are you living it? So if I say dream job, what do you think?
I really think I'm living that job because, to me, to live your dream job is to want to get up and go to that job every day. And that's what I do. I don't have regrets about getting up in the morning and saying, oh gosh, I have to go to work today. I don't do that. I get up and be like, all right, I get to go to work today. So to me, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm enjoying getting up and going and living that experience, that's the dream. And so every day I get to live that dream here and do that every day. And so to me, this is the job that that I was destined to have.
Already people will be jealous hearing that idea of living the dream. So did anything in life happen that spurred you on? Because so many of us, we start with a plan and then we end up somewhere else. Did anything happen to spur you on this path?
I think so. I said I went to college as a chemistry major, and my first chemistry class was a giant lecture of 250 plus undergraduates in a lecture. We had 20 some laboratory sections we got broken into, and I felt lost. That I didn't feel connected to the material because I didn't feel connected to the people in my class because there were so many of them, or the instructor who couldn't have picked me out of a lineup if he had to. And as a result, I felt that there had to be something better. And I sort of looked around and I knew I liked the sciences. That's what I had always done. And so I looked into some of the other sciences. I took other classes, and the physics classes sort of resonated with me. They were a little smaller. The instructor was a little more hands-on. I really got to know a really close group of people because the classes were smaller. And as such, I kind of just gravitated that way. But I still had this mindset that, okay, I'm going to graduate with this physics degree and go into a research environment or a laboratory setting. I mean, that was still sort of the goal in the end. From there, then, when I graduated, I realized quickly that with my undergraduate degree, there weren't many available jobs with an undergraduate in physics, and I really needed advanced schooling. And so I went on to a master's program, and at the time that program was finishing up, the then Pikeville College had sent out a job request looking for someone to run their outreach programs. They had gotten a grant to do science and math with the county school systems. And I thought that sounded like a great thing to do. I had done that my whole life. I had gone back and taken chemicals and glassware from my home that my father had had and gone into the elementary school classroom where I had grown up. And so I was sort of a guest speaker in science classrooms doing summer programs with kids. And so I was like, that sounds like a really good job. I can apply my science background with my love of outreach, and so I applied for that job. Didn't hear anything for 6 months. Assumed it was gone. Got a phone call asking me if I remembered applying for the job, and I said yes. And they said, well, so it turns out our physics professor has quit. We'd be interested in knowing if you want to teach physics half-time and also run our outreach programs half-time. And I said, sounds perfect. I get to do both my passions. I have my degree in hand. I get to utilize that to teach the next generation, and I get to still participate with the community. And so from there, that's where my journey began at the then Pikeville College. I accepted that job offer very quickly, post-interview, and have been here ever since.
So as a really young man, get this job, have been here for a lot of years now. Probably a little more clear sense of what you're really good at or what you're called to. And I wonder if in a sentence, could you put it into a sentence and say, Dr. Roberts is called to, or your life is about, how would you answer that?
I would say my life is about bringing the passion of science to the general public. Whether that be students in my classroom trying to gain an interest in what they're going to do for their future careers, versus the elementary student that's 6 or 7 years old that has no idea what they're going to do really with their lives, and just to try to show them that you can be passionate about anything, and from there that can lead you on and fuel your life from that time forward.
So from the kids you were doing outreach to now the future doctors or physical therapists that you encounter, turn the lights on, right? Showing them how cool science is. So this was probably a moot point, but I ask it anyways. Your job, do you feel like your job aligns with that call?
Well, absolutely. I feel like I can interact with both the public and the campus community as a whole. I feel like I have a lot of freedom to explore those avenues, to teach the way I want to teach in the classroom, to run the kinds of programs that may be supportive of science education out in the community. And I feel like I'm situated in the best environment possible with all of the support and care and compassion necessary to do that.
Well, over these years, when students talk about their physics classes and they talk about the level of excellence that you bring to the classroom, and you really make an impact with, even from the way that you assess and just do all these things that are very thoughtful and helpful to our students. So you've made an impact. So I wonder, for you, who's made the impact on you to help you know what you're about, what you're good at? Who's helped you in that journey?
I think initially it was, my parents, because they were in those kinds of roles in the sciences. But I think as time has progressed, the time I've been here, I think it's the students that have gone on from my classes, that they have come back years later and say, at the time I didn't appreciate what you had done. I thought the class was hard, or that, that I wasn't going to use this information. And I appreciate that you stuck with us, and that you tried, and that you were always passionate and excited about what you were doing. And now I realize that I should have been more receptive at that time. But, and they come back later on, and it makes me feel good that they're doing that. And so that to me then fuels my understanding that this is what I should be doing. That they're the ones that are driving me to be better, because they're seeing, I'm seeing the impact I've made in their lives, because they've come back and said, hey, this has been a good thing and I appreciate it. Or you really prepared me for this graduate program, or for this board exam, or whatever it was. And to me, that just continues to make me look to strive to do better, to do more, to make sure that what I'm doing is aligned with their future goals.
So if someone was watching this and they said, wow, like you do this cool stuff and you're this teacher of physics, and I would love to do that. What did you do to put yourself or get yourself in that position?
I think it was just about looking for a passion and having perseverance. In the beginning, it was not saying no to any opportunity. As minimal as it might have seemed at the time, whether it was a responsibility on a committee or simply going to talk to a group, all of those little things matter, because in the end, you start making connections with people. They resonate with you, and they feel your passion, and something in that excites them and sparks them. And later on, maybe you get a phone call and says, hey, I saw you at so-and-so, or we talked briefly about this. Would you be interested in doing this project? And from there, things get larger and larger and larger, and you have opportunities that open up, because you were willing to take a leap of faith at that time.
Yeah, I like that idea of a leap of faith and saying yes. For some students, they might even go all the way through their 4 years. They might graduate with a major, but still have no idea, honestly. So when you encounter a student or an alum who's second guessing kind of their passion or career, what do you tell them? Like, how do you help people who have no idea what they should do with their life?
Well, I'd say the same thing to undergraduates that think they know what they want to do, as well as people that have graduated and not sure. I ask them what excites you. What are you most interested in? Don't think of it in terms of money or opportunity, or advancement. It's what excites you, what gets you up in the morning and gets you going, because that's what you want to do. If you think, okay, I want to be a doctor, and you want to be a doctor, that's great. If that's what excites you, if that's the passion you've had. But if you're like, well, my parents really want me to do this, or my family wants me to do this, but I really like blank, then you need to do blank. Because it's not about, at the end of the day, how much money you're making, what your title is, where you live, what you own. It's about your ability to say, I'm happy with who I am and what I've done. And if that is the career path that's taking you with the money and the houses and the cars, that's great. But if you're doing, the smallest of jobs, and it excites you every day to get up and say, I want to go do that, all the money in the world can't change your passion for doing that.